Hi friends, welcome back. It's Michelle here from happyhealthyher.com. In today's Compassionate Chat, I wanted to share a piece of spiritual guidance that has been especially supportive to me during my hardest times. It is something that is so simple yet so profound. And I'd been wanting to talk about this for a long time, and then this weekend, the woman who probably sealed this lesson into my heart the most passed away. Her name is Joan, and I will talk about that special, wonderful woman a bit more later. But for now, I want to share that what Joan did through example was to remind me the power of perspective. I see this as the ability to step back from the chaos of our problems and see a bigger picture, while also recognizing that there is always a higher power at work, even when we can't see it at first. We are always being guided and supported, but we have to be able to recognize that. The challenge is that we often get so consumed by the minor details of our problems that we can't see what they are trying to show us. So the reality of this perspective was actually cemented for me when I was in the process of going through my divorce 9 years ago. I had taken a job as a communications coordinator for a hospice center, and that was where I met Joan. So part of taking that job and actually even embarking on my divorce was to leave my cozy home that I had lived in for 15 years and move into a rental property, which was super stressful because on the salary I was making, I was not able to find any rental properties near my work. So I had to really have a longer commute than I had initially anticipated. So I was scouring the area, and I finally found a town in a community that felt right to me, and I found a few properties that were in my budget and were on my top list of places I might be able to live. And one of them was a townhouse in a small community where the laundry facilities were a few doors down from the actual door of my home. And so in my mind, I was just so consumed about the inconvenience and the stress of having to do laundry in an exterior building, not having laundry facilities right in my home, which is something I had found as a luxury I'd gotten very used to. And another property I had seen did have laundry, a washer and dryer in the facility, but it was on the top floor of an old home. And the day I toured it, the neighbor was listening to their TV loudly, and it was just obvious that that was not going to be a very quiet or cozy place to live, even though it did have the laundry. So I went to work the next day after seeing these properties, and my head was just spinning, and I was super stressed out, and I was having a really hard time getting perspective, until I was invited to attend a weekly rounds meeting with the hospice staff, particularly the nursing and the social working staff. And what they would do is every week they'd come together, and each person would go over their caseload and the different patients and clients they had, and then they would share resources and input. And it was I was invited because as the communications person, I was going to be writing about a lot of the work we were doing out in the community. So it was important for me to get a bird's eye view to really actually see what was going on. And I was really excited about it because I already knew. Because I have nursing friends, and I just knew that hospice nurses are some of the most special humans on the planet. And I was not disappointed. In this meeting, I must have cried at least 5 times. There was a lot of things that were moving me by the beauty and the grace of the people that were in the room with me. And one person in particular really stole my heart, and that was Joan. She was one of the most senior nurses. She'd been a nurse for over 30 years. And when it got to her case, she described that her patient had very little family support and lived in a space where there were no laundry facilities. No laundry facilities. And so the patient's laundry had been soiled, and Joan took it upon herself to go to the store and with her own money buy new sheets for this patient, because what else was she going to do? And I just remember hearing this and just weeping and realizing in that moment, I felt it in my full body actually, that I was being told that my laundry stuff was not a thing. My challenge of all this, oh my God, how am I going to do my laundry, was really not that big of a deal, because here's a situation with someone who literally does not have laundry access and does not have the physical capacity to do their laundry. Now that's a dire situation. Mine was not. And I share this, and even this sense of being able to see perspective, not to dismiss the fact that my laundry stuff was an issue. Or even if you're watching this, I'm not trying to dismiss any of your problems either. What I want to make clear though is when you can step back though and take some perspective on it and realize things could always be worse, and often are worse for many other people, it helps you get a real clarity and even more of a gratitude for the things that are going wrong in your life. And so that was actually the place I was when I left that meeting. And I immediately went to my desk and I emailed the manager of the townhouse that I'd looked at, because I knew in my heart that was the place I was meant to be. And the laundry stuff, I would figure out the laundry stuff. But I did take that path, and I was very happy in that place. And I ended up staying there for 2 years. And honestly, the laundry didn't end up being that big of a deal. So on a broader sense, this lesson of perspective is something that was very, very obvious to me while working in hospice. I think anybody who has worked in that field or has just had someone die, is you get a greater perspective of life. And when you realize how fragile life is, the little things don't matter so much. I mean, it's just sort of like, you don't stress the small stuff because you got way bigger stuff to be thinking about if you're in the process of handling someone who's passing away. You know, it's just, again, it's like this strong awareness that things can go, things can be taken from us so quickly. So living in the moment and being appreciative and being able to see that big picture is incredibly helpful. And as strange as it may sound, being in hospice was the best possible place I could have been during my divorce, because it kept me out of my head. It kept me out of wallowing in pity or grief. I mean, I didn't want my marriage to end. Nobody does. And I truly was in a state of turmoil and pain, but I didn't get consumed by it. Because every day I went into this office, I went into this hospice center, and I witnessed beautiful things, for one thing, beautiful people helping other people, and miraculous situations. Signs and synchronicities showed up constantly. The spiritual thread is very, very present in a hospice center and with the people working in hospice. And so it strengthened my own beliefs and my own sort of compassion around how connected we are to each other. So truly, it was a wonderful experience, even though it was very hard. And it was, as I said, the strongest sense of perspective in terms of my life and my problems that I've ever been able to have. So I always like to share takeaways. And the takeaway here is that when you are in a challenging situation, it is very, very helpful to step back and get that perspective. So I'm posing 4 questions that you can ask yourself. I will put them in the description box below if these are things, if you are someone like me who likes to ponder or journal, I think these will help you. So the first thing is to ask yourself, what is this teaching me? In my example, what it was teaching me was that the laundry was not that big of a problem, was not that dire of a situation, that I was able-bodied and I had the tools and the money and the resources to do the laundry in whatever ways were going to work for me. I had that ability. The second question is, what about this is scaring me so much? So in the sense of my moving into the townhouse, what was scaring me was a lack of control, was a lack of convenience, was a complete change in my living situation. And of course, that was going to scare me a little bit because my life was completely being like disrupted. And it was normal for me to feel what I was feeling and embrace it and understand it and accept it. And so by doing what I was doing, by looking at the bigger picture of the scenario and even realizing this is temporary, you know, it may be scary to me now, it may be a big change, but over time I'm going to get adjusted and I will probably end up moving somewhere else, like this beautiful home I am in now that has laundry facilities, that has a washer and dryer that I can access. So my situation was not the end of the story. Life can always change. Life can always improve. But being able to see that part of it, that what it was that was really sticking in my mind, what was scaring me so much, was really helpful. The third thing you can ask is, how can I make this better? I mean, most of our situations have solutions. Probably all of our situations have solutions. So really kind of pondering how I'm going to handle this. How am I going to make this better? And so what I did was I actually planned out that I would do laundry on the weekends or on my day off, that I wouldn't have to worry about trying to go to the laundry room in the evening or at times that maybe were not that convenient or a little bit scary for me. So I had a plan and I was able to sort of work with that. And then the fourth question is a timing one, and that is, will this even matter in a month? You know, so for my laundry issue, it was going to matter in a month. It was going to matter for the entire time I was there. But for a lot of other issues, they don't. A lot of the things we stress about are timely and they pass. And after a while, they won't even be on our radar. So I think that's an important question to ask. So I also wanted to take the liberty now to talk a little bit more about Joan, because she was a really, really special person, and I've been crying on and off since I got this news. I was blessed to get to know her shortly before she was ready to semi-retire. She had worked, like I said, she'd been a nurse for over 30 years, and she'd been in hospice for a good portion of that time. And I came onto the center roughly 3 or 4 months before she was scheduled to retire. So I had the blessing of being able to interview her for a story that was going to go into onto the website of the hospice center. And I Googled and it's still there, so I'm going to link to that story below. But she just had a really remarkable life, and it was one of total service and devotion, and one where she just knew what she was supposed to do. She knew how to live it. And she was one of those people who, when you talk to them, there's just this radiance, there's this warmth and safety and the truest sense of spirituality I think I've ever seen in a person, because she just got it. Like she lived the path of a spiritual person. She walked the talk. She was humble and compassionate and just real. And she had this wicked sense of humor. That's one of the greatest things about people in hospice. They don't take themselves too seriously because they know the fine line between life and death, and they will often have a dark or a dirty or an inappropriate sense of humor, and it makes it so easy to talk to them and to be with them. It's just, they know how to hold space. And she was really deeply, deeply spiritual. She had an advanced degree in spiritual and pastoral care. And so she knew all about the higher level spiritual things, but she was so practical and down to earth and never holier than thou or never like she knew better. It was just sort of like such a strong mothering energy. And it was just truly a blessing to be able to spend time with her at a time when I needed that kind of energy. I'm grateful to have met her, and I'm grateful to have met many of the people I worked with in hospice. And sorry, I knew I would cry. But that was, again, one of the darkest periods of my life. And they were people who felt like beacons of light. And Joan was one of those people. And I wanted to be able to use my platform to share that, to say it out loud. I know she's in a better place, and I know she has the ability to hear me. And as an aside around that, when my friend had called me to tell me about her passing, she left me a message. I was busy, I couldn't even grab the phone. And as I was listening to the message, I was looking out my window and I saw a cardinal on my bird feeder. And cardinals tend to be a sign of the ancestors and spirits that have passed. And so I knew she was in a better place. And I'm grateful that I got to know her, and I'm grateful for this lesson, and I hope this will be helpful to someone. I wish you happiness and good health always, and I thank you for being here with me.